right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith, here alone for a solo interview episode. The full episode with John and Chuck will be out later this week, likely on Thursday afternoon. The beginning of the NBA season has almost come and gone. We're in the thick of it now. We have hit our stride, hit our rhythm. There are just crazy amount of games and storylines going on every single day. I'm talking to you on Monday night. Klay-Thompson set the NBA record for three-pointers in a game, despite the fact that the Bulls announcers had no idea until about 10 minutes after it happened. I think they just thought the Warriors were feeding Klay the ball to try to get him 50 points. It's very bizarre. They didn't notice until about 10 minutes later when I just happened to overhear them say, "Oh, Klay set the record for three-pointers tonight." And then they put it together why everything had been happening that way. But the NBA season, it's been amazing. The Western Conference looks especially brutal like we thought it would. The Sacramento Kings look suddenly frisky. I've won several in a row. De'Aaron Fox and Willie Cauley-Stein are formidable. And Nemanja Bjelica has been playing great, so that team looks pretty good. Like the Mavericks are totally fine. The Clippers are totally fine. The Grizzlies, the team I talk about today with Peter Edmiston, obviously my favorite team. They're maybe okay. They're mediocre. I think they're mediocre. But none of these teams are absolutely stinky except for the Suns, who've been missing Devin Booker. Maybe they'll be a little more respectable when he gets back. Besides that, it's just the teams we thought were going to be good. The Thunder, the Rockets, the Lakers, who are pulling up the rear of the Western Conference. So it's a great season. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you enjoy hearing this episode today. When we dive into the Grizzlies, haven't done a full Grizzlies epilogue in a little bit, so just did a full standalone Grizzlies episode. As you are enjoying this NBA season, which is incredible so far, I hope you're enjoying it the way I am, and that's by playing Draft. Draft is a daily fantasy app that I love playing. I only play for $1 or $2. I've been trying to convince myself to play for more because I win at an okay rate. But anyway, I've just been playing for $1. I mainly play against our listeners, although I did win a 6-person and an 8-person draft against some strangers on Sunday night. The way Draft works is you just go into the app. You see either a snake draft or a blind auction draft, and you hit join. Within minutes, the game is starting. You draft your team for that night. You're not playing against a bunch of pros because they can't enter multiple entries. Everyone has exclusive players because, again, like a normal fantasy draft, you take the guys you're going to get, and then that's your team for the night. It's super easy. You can deposit with PayPal or credit card because it's completely legal. It pays out the next day. It's just a super exciting, fun way to augment your basketball viewing experience. You can be a hockey fan, a football fan, golf fan. They have all kinds of stuff. They have all the sports on there that you can play. I've only played football and basketball, but it's super fun. I highly recommend it, and if you download it at draft.com/fastbreak and use our code FASTBREAK, not only will you get a free $3 entry into a money game, you also are helping our show out a lot. So if that's a way you want to support us, you can do that. And again, sign up at draft.com/fastbreak. Use our code FASTBREAK. Find me on there. My username is FastBreakBreakfast. Follow me. I'll follow you back, and then we can play head-to-head. We can play 3-man, 6-man, whatever. We'll be getting in those expert drafts where all the best players are taken, and you're lucky to get a Buddy Hield or a Dwayne Dedman. It's super fun. For NBA nerds, I think it's fun to dive into those. And again, it's great. So I highly recommend it, draft.com/fastbreak. My guest today is the host of Wolo and Peter on AM 56 in Memphis and also covers the Grizzlies for The Athletic, Peter Edmiston. Peter, how are you doing?
Hello, Keith. How are you, bud?
I'm real good. I want to say Wolo and Pete. I know your name's Peter. Does anyone ever call it Wolo and Pete? Wolo and Pete sounds like an Adult Swim show.
Yeah, I don't. No, I recommend strongly no one call me or the show Pete in any way. Pete and Pete, I'm good with back in the old days. Nickelodeon, that was great.
Right.
But no, I really am strong. I'm a strong proponent of just hitting that R. Just go ahead and hit that R pretty hard.
Oh, like Wolo and Peter.
Maybe not that hard.
Okay.
Maybe back it off a little bit, but certainly you want to hear it. It needs to be audible, definitely.
That's good. I'd never said the name. I don't normally say the name of your radio show out loud. It's like when people also try to say Fast Break Breakfast for the first time and realize it's very hard to say out loud. They stumble many times. You've gotten
one of the shames of life, I think, is always if you have to say a username on Twitter or something aloud. It never fails to be embarrassing, generally for all involved, unless the user is just their screen. Like mine is just my name, so that's okay. But anytime you get some numbers or some kind of something else involved, it's always cumbersome and generally terrible.
I will say the exception to that rule is friend of the show, Brent Barry. When I read his Twitter handle aloud, I'm like, he's on Twitter at Barry3. I'm like, oh, I never got it. But it means something. I never once understood it when I was looking at it. You never got that? No, I literally.
You never got that? Oh.
I never I just see it on Twitter. I'm like, that's kind of why his screen name looks like an AOL chat room name with a bunch of random numbers. Like, well, this is kind of lame. And then I said it out loud. I'm like, oh, I get it. All right, yeah.
And then you have to put a number in sometimes, and it's just no. It's similarly, I just get annoyed when I have to give my email address out over the phone to anybody, like if I'm buying something or if I'm doing some kind of insurance or whatever it may be. Hate it.
Yeah.
Just hate it. It's annoying. Hate it. The whole thing. So just long story short, just go with Peter, and we'll all be happier.
Wallow and Peter. All right, Peter.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Yeah.
What'd you have for breakfast?
Fast break breakfast.
Yes. Do you
even have to ask that question?
Well, I mean, do you have an apple? Was it
just
every day?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, variety is the spice of life.
Watch. Is it?
It is.
Is it really? I don't think that's true.
That's why the Grizzlies do a different rotation of players every game. Variety's the spice of life.
Well, I think that's one of those things that people say, and it sounds kind of cute. But when it comes to breakfast, as you guys well know, your routine is solid and excellent and wonderful, and it makes it so much easier. Just grab an apple.
Okay.
You got Honeycrisp, high quality. They're good. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to make anything. I might, if I'm crazy, throw in some Belvita breakfast biscuits with a little cinnamon and brown sugar.
Oh,
those are pretty good.
Okay, yeah.
Might grab one of my kids' Z bars. They're kind of a little kind of a bar.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Fiber bar. Z bars are good. So I might grab my kids don't love the cinnamon one. And so I'll grab that oatmeal cookie with a little cinnamon. They don't like that flavor, so I might grab one of those. But generally, it's the coffee and the apple. That's what we got.
That's good. I had a coffee and a donut. My wife ran over to Krispy Kreme, so special morning.
Was it hot?
No, you know what? That hot and ready sign, it doesn't do much for me. Like I'm not. I guess normally I have a lot of facial hair, and like the hotter it is, the more gross it is with facial hair. So like I can take a cold donut. It doesn't bug me.
Keith, I've heard that a lot in many contexts. The hotter it is, the grosser it is with facial hair.
Agreed.
That's not untrue.
It's not untrue.
It's all the way around.
Let's get to the Grizzlies. Do we know anything?
We have to, sure.
Yeah, we have to. We got to knock it out. Five games into the season, do we know anything? They've won 2 home games over the trash of the NBA by a lot. They've lost 2 road games horribly, and then they surprisingly beat the Utah Jazz. What have we learned, or what do we know?
I think we've learned that playing bad teams is helpful.
Yeah.
We've learned that, certainly. We've learned that they have a lot of players that are pretty good and not a lot that are very good. So that's something. We've learned that defensively, Marc Gasol is still really important, and he is playing at a high level. And when he's gone, everything sort of collapses. We've learned that JaMychal Green should not play in the home opener at all, no matter what.
Right.
It's just going to end up badly. I think overall for the team, the move to a new offense and something that's the topic of my first piece for The Athletic, is definitely been difficult. And it's not something in the Grizzlies, longtime Grizzlies observers like yourselves will know that, the Grizzlies don't do well with shifting offenses. That tends to last about a month or so. And then something happens, somebody gets mad and things change. This one seems like it's going to be a little for the longer haul, but it has been a very, very rough start, to say the least, even taking into account the fact that they're 3-2, remarkably, and they've played 3 teams that are probably going to be among the league's worst 5 or 6 defenses when it's all said and done. And then against the Wizards on Tuesday, same kind of thing. They're currently one of the biggest trash piles in the NBA. So they've definitely gotten a great home start to be able to work some things out, but it's definitely a process right now.
I was hoping you're going to go with a hotter take. When you said JaMychal Green should not play in home openers, I thought you were going to go all the way and just say JaMychal Green should not play as your takeaway from the first 5 games.
Well, that's my Chandler Parsons takeaway. I actually forgotten about him already. He should not play. That is true. Just I would say he is done to me.
Let's talk about Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons, to you, to me, apparently, obviously, should not be playing NBA basketball. But that's also been the case from year 1 of Chandler Parsons, year 2 of Chandler Parsons, and even quote unquote healthy Chandler Parsons at the start of year 3. The guy is way worse than the people behind him in the rotation. But once again, they started him. Does that mean there is absolutely a top-down edict in the Grizzlies organization that we have to play Chandler Parsons? You have to play Chandler Parsons? Because, I was angry year 1 where James Ennis was clearly a better player over whatever broken version of Chandler Parsons we had, and yet they played Chandler Parsons, as much as they possibly could. And then coming into this season, if you would have given me 100 guesses to guess the Grizzlies' preferred starting lineup when everyone is, again, quote unquote, healthy, I wouldn't have come up with what they did in 100 guesses. I would not have gone. I even would have gotten Garrett Temple right. But the 3-4-5 being Chandler Parsons, JaMychal Green, Marc Gasol, I just would have kept guessing. What? How is this not right? So, Chandler Parsons clearly should not play on this team. Maybe shouldn't play in the NBA. Why do they keep trotting him out there?
Well, I think initially, the first year, it was pretty much an edict from above. They were really trying desperately. David Fizdale was more or less prodded at the point of a bayonet, metaphorically speaking, to incorporate him into the starting lineup at no matter what. When it was obvious to everyone that was not only was he not healthy, it just wasn't very good. When he was out there, and it was a problem. It became a problem inside the locker room because those guys knew that it just wasn't. It wasn't about winning. If it was about winning, then they wouldn't be playing him. And so that became an issue. And it's not Chandler's fault. And then no one was necessarily, irritated with Chandler. It was just more about, what the situation was and how the organization was handling it at that point. But, the last couple of years, I think it's not anything of a top-down edict so much as it is just a really hell-bent desire to try to get something out of this guy. Just something. Just do anything you can, whatever you can find, make it work. Just anything. And, we all kind of have to come to the realization that it's just not happening. I will say that I whatever role he's got, it's not a 3. So, if he can play anything in the NBA anymore, it's going to be a 4. I'm not sure that he can do that, but he cannot. I mean, when Bojan Bogdanovic looked like Usain Bolt compared to Chandler Parsons, you got a problem. And when he's blowing by you and making you look extremely, not only slow, but, embarrassingly slow, you got a problem. So he can't play that position. He just can't. If he can play as a stretch 4 in a bench lineup where you've, got some facilitation and you're kind of going small, maybe, because he can still pass, he can still shoot. He was okay last year, in the limited minutes that he played in terms of the 3-point shooting. but that's nowhere near the role that he was envisioned. And as far as I'm concerned,